Welcome to Rauta and a local gig here in my home city where we have friends from another city playing one of their few gigs this year in Finland, a Finnish band, and obviously we're talking in English just to make your time more, I don't know, what the fuck. Let's introduce And Oceans. Here we have Mr. Composer, guitar player, whatever titles you want to use. Yeah. Please introduce yourself.
Timo, I play guitar.
You, sir?
Matthias, I'm the singer.
And you, sir?
Pyry, bass player.
So this is a little bit different lineup than what you and I had back in 2019, more than 5 years ago when we met at Steelfest. You were one of the original members, however, but these, shall we say, kids in the room are somewhat of a different. So let's take a look. The lineup has changed since the last time we spoke. And of course, you've been doing this music for quite a few years with these guys, so not newbies anymore. How has it been past few years with the newer lineup, 2 more albums under your belt and so on?
I think everything has gone like natural. After we played those comeback gigs and Kukkeli stopped playing bass and we got Pete playing bass, and but then all of a sudden Pete felt that he has too much like personal stuff, so he decided to step out and he asked Pyry to come and join. So of course we have been friends before, so it was really easy decision to make. So, but yeah, that is the thing with the bass player. But of course, we know what happened with the singer, but that's another story. But
well, before I let you talk, but indeed, you play quite a few bands, so you have quite an active life when it comes to doing all the bands, doing all the gigs and all that stuff. How do you make the puzzle pieces fit together with all this busy schedule and all?
That is the question. Well, I mean, sometimes it's just pure luck. But of course, I think that first comes first, that if we like get a gig with And Oceans, and after that would be any gig with other bands, I would of course go with the And Oceans, because I said first comes first. And mainly it's just like timing, that now we're making a new album with And Oceans and we're gonna release probably next year, and then like focus on that, and then after releasing that album, focusing on the other ones. So it's like constant thing going on with all the bands and just trying to make the time from the calendar.
Now, talking about you, sir, you also have quite a busy schedule with all the bands, And Oceans, Finnish, Dispute, and the list goes on with the smaller bands. How about you playing this piece of puzzles with all the bands and schedules?
Well, that's it. It's a big jigsaw puzzle usually. But as Pyry said, you know, it's like first come, first served. That's been all my like philosophy throughout my entire career. So, but luckily, mostly like now, it's Finnish and Oceans. You know, the Festerday, where me and Timo also plays. You know, it's we don't play that much. We played 1 gig this year so far with that, and Dispute also only 1 gig so far. So it's been easier this way, and now, you know, with the new And Oceans album coming out, we also have the Finnish is, you know, having a little bit of a like break right now, because we toured for like constantly for over 2 years. So we decided to, you know, pull the handbrake a little bit, and you know,
not even brake pedal, but handbrake right away.
Exactly. No, yeah. So with these gigs, if we count the And Oceans gigs, I have 4 gigs left this year, which is pretty amazing.
Pretty moderate.
Exactly. Pretty nice.
Talking also other bands regarding you, you also had these other projects going on back and forth, but always kind of like shadowed by And Oceans. How do you set up your mind, like, okay, now I have this Festerday riff, or now I have this riff for Magenta or whatever? I mean,
that's not going to happen, but yeah, of course, And Oceans is like a main thing now, and that takes most of the time. But of course, we are trying to make a new album with Festerday also. Actually, we have almost full album ready. Now we're just going to get a record deal and think about the studio where we are going to play or record that. So yeah, but it's quite easy for me to schedule my time because Oceans is the main focus of now, but yeah.
Now this talk already kind of brings me back to the 2019 one, because already back then we were talking about there will be a new And Oceans album the next year, and now we're again talking about next year with a new And Oceans album, which would be the third one after the so-called comeback. And I mean, unlike some people were probably like being pessimistic and all, like, okay, will this be one of those comebacks that will do one album and be gone again? But you have been maybe stronger than ever with these two comeback albums, and you're still touring, making a new album, and you haven't even let these lineup changes like stop you. Is this now the real momentum for And Oceans?
Yeah, I think so. I think everyone can be really pleased with the two albums we have released already, and the next one is of course going to be great. But I don't know, maybe we are lucky that we are still managing to create something relevant nowadays, because of course, like discussed earlier, that we were a bit afraid to start making new stuff for And Oceans if we are ever going to make any good stuff, but it's going great so far. Yeah.
Now, one thing I noticed from Pyry's social media, because friends and all, I was like, you mentioned like it's going to be fun to play music that is an album that is 25 years old, and then you were comparing your own age to that. That like there's like kind of like a paradox, assuming you would be there. How does it feel for you, such a young guy in the room, to play that music which was done when you were merely a kid?
I was 6 when the Symmetry of I was released, so it's pretty weird. But I mean, at first when I joined the band in 2020, playing like, for example, Troll Fan and all those songs that I've been listening to a lot of during high school and stuff like that, it was super weird but exciting at the same time. Of course, because now it's been like 4 years, I've been getting used to it, but still, like when I was rehearsing for these gigs, the other songs that we haven't played before, it was like at the same time going back to that time when I was listening like teenager and listening to the album, and it's great. It's also like my personal walking down the memory lane, not of course for the band history, but myself. So it's weird but great.
Now, since this is not obviously the only band on earth with a kind of a generational gap between the original members and you, like theoretically speaking, who knows? We don't know. Yeah. But you could be the kind of like father-son situation in that sense. And obviously there are lots of bands these days where like the original members might be 50, 60, whatever. And the other kid is like, I'm 25. So grandpa, let's start rolling. How does it feel rolling with the older generation who made it all possible and who might not have the energy of a 20-year-old, whereas you are like probably like, grandpa, let's get it going.
I mean, I've always played with older guys than myself, because back in the day where I'm from, I never had like my own age bandmates, so I've always played older guys. So I don't think that it's any, how to say, it feels natural for me because I've been doing it all the time. So it's never been a problem to me and not for the other guys because I've been like doing it all the time. So I don't see any problem, at least, with the whole thing. But I don't know. Of course, I guess it's something about with the skills. I would say that guys asking me to join the band, it's not about the age, you know.
Yeah, of course, it's not.
So.
But do you ever have these discussions like, back in the days when you were in elementary school, we already been drinking vodkas and we were doing it this and that way?
Maybe like years ago, not like anymore, but yeah, of course there's been like that. But I don't think the age is any issue anymore.
Yeah, of course.
At any point, but yeah.
Well, with you, we're not going to talk about the age, but the experience and variety of bands, because you've been always very, very active and your band history goes all the way back to almost as far as with these guys. Yeah. But you also been very busy with, say, Fintroll, because we're quite a big band. How does this difference between, say, Fintroll and Oceans, from your point of view as an artist, as a playing gigs and all that stuff, is there really a difference between playing this kind of stuff versus the other bands?
Yeah, sort of, but I've always, liked to have some kind of, balance, because when it comes to like my taste in music, it's like everything from like electronic and classical music to brutal death metal, so it's for me, I really like to balance everything and play a little bit of that, and maybe like in that kind of way I don't get easily bored about, if I would have 5 folk metal bands, that would be kind of heavy,
It's like having 4 or 5 wives nagging you constantly.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, joking aside, but yeah.
Exactly. So I have the wife, Fintroll, and then I have the mistress, that is Oceans.
Is there any, they're jokingly asking, but is there any jealousy sometimes, like you're spending too much with them, or you should have some ideas with us that you use with the other band? Is there any?
No, not really. It's never been, and already, for example, when I joined Fintroll 18 years ago, I already had all the bands, different projects back then. So they're really used to me, like, being this kind of way, and it's always worked. Okay, let's say now we have had a couple of clashes, with the double booking, but as we said before, first come, first served, and, Fintroll, we're also used to, that our drummer has a lot of bands, and now especially upcoming band, Crown Shift, for example, and so but it was still it made it work, and I shouldn't no problem from my point of view, at least.
Now, going back to you, and one thing I remembered when I was listening to the previous interview was that you guys, being the Three Musketeers all the way since late 80s even, meaning that you've been playing music for at least, say, 35 years or maybe more. How have things changed from a guitar player or musician perspective when you think about your career being around 50s and thinking about I was a teenager picking up the guitar and making the riffs? How things have changed over the years?
Actually not too much, because even nowadays I make the music the same way as I used to do, so it's just picking up the guitar and starting to play, and there's no like big planning or agenda or what to make, so no big difference from the early days.
Now, talking about Oceans music, while obviously the comeback changed some things, but maybe not too much, maybe one thing is that your albums are even more, good quality, but maybe less surprising versus what you had early days. I mean, Oceans were known like a big bag of tricks that you never know what you're gonna get when you unwrap the new package and put your hand in, and it's gonna bite, or is it gonna leak, or whatever, what the hell is going to happen? You made album after album, which were all different. And now your last 2 albums have been more as if planned or more matured in a way. Do you see yourself any kind of a difference between this?
Yeah, I understand what you're talking about, but actually the debut and the Symmetry, they are a bit different sound-wise and music-wise, but still like a symphonic melodic black metal, like our 2 comeback albums. Mm-hmm. Of course, AM God and then Cypher, they are totally different, but you have to wait for the next year. What's
surprises coming? You never know with that.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Now, one thing that is also kind of evident, especially when we talk about the older albums, maybe more so than compared to nowadays albums, is that those names were not exactly your typical, say, black metal ones. M-God with dots and all that stuff. I mean, even the band name, it's not your typical Temple of Evil or whatever, Forgotten this and Forgotten that, or Dark, whatever. Why did you decide, like, let's go different path, or was it just something that happened randomly?
No, it's not randomly, but I think it was maybe the idea of the original singer that we don't want to make like a typical name, and he really liked to provoke people, like we know those European tours that all the clothing and things like
painted
that,
faces.
So that was like a main thing, to provoke those maybe narrow-minded black metal people. So yeah, that's one thing.
Now, this is obviously not the case anymore because different vocals, different output, different style. How do you feel taking the lead, man? I mean, it's been a few years, but let's reflect on that.
Yeah.
Like, how does it feel like you had to step in kind of a weird, maybe clown shoes would be the more fitting rather than army boots.
Yeah.
How did it feel to like, okay, now I'm gonna make these boots on my own and maybe recolor them a little bit and make them more like Andosians like for you?
Yeah, well, you know, it's been a long process because I've known the guys from the 90s. So I grew up with the band and all the, Kenas tricks that he did. So, I think in some kind of way, those albums actually influenced me because you can read the lyrics that I write and that I have written. They have this little bit, how to say, like kind of same aesthetics that Kenna had in his lyrics. So in a way, I think I sort of absorbed a little bit of his like energy on the way. But as the new singer, I didn't want to be like a puppet on the stage.
Yeah, that would be kind of weird.
Exactly, and not do anything that I wouldn't be comfortable with, or just because I just paint my face blue because Kenna did so that
Yeah.
And I've never been that how to say, like flamboyant in that way. I've always been a little bit more like, how to say, chill with the attitude on stage. So
now talking about instrument choices, guitar is probably one of the favorite toys people can make in music, and nobody's even asking you why did you pick up guitar, because everybody knows I want to make great riffs and melodies. So I'm not gonna even bother with you. Being vocalist, yeah, it's the easy job. Just pick the microphone, but bass.
Yep.
It's the most underrated instrument in metal music, but everybody knows it's the backbone of, metal music and beyond. Why did you choose bass, or was it the bass choosing you?
Yes, it was, because I never chose bass. At first I started with drums actually, and then I remember I saw the Iron Maiden live at Donington VGS, and I thought that, oh my god, it's way much cooler to be a guitar player and run all over the stage. And then I started to play guitar. And I did play like many years guitar, and then at some point, can't remember which year, but this one Finnish death metal band called Casket, they were lacking a bass player, and we knew each other, and they knew that I play guitar, so they were like, hey,
just remove two strings and
maybe you can try bass also. And I was like, I've never played bass, but I know how to play guitar, so let's go for it.
Yeah.
And after that, it's been bass. So in a way, bass chose me, but of course during the years I've been like, our relationship is getting warm and warm all the time. So I mean, of course it's completely different way to play bass rather than guitar, and you have to think about it differently and all the techniques and stuff. So at first I didn't think about it too much, but nowadays I think that bass is like, as you said, it's the bass of the whole band, and it's a great instrument.
Now, talking about one of my favorite, kind of a silly but also very important questions, in my opinion, is, are you more of a, say, studio musician or live musician? I think I know the answer, but rather not make a wild guess.
I would say live musician, and of course the whole thing is with all these replacement gigs and session stuff. I've been playing more gigs rather than playing in studio. But of course, recording music is also something that I, of course, like and want to do it more that I have done. But I consider myself, I would say that I'm at my best on stage rather than in studio, probably. But yeah.
What about you? Pointing at your temple. You get to choose only one, not both.
Exactly. No, but fun story actually. I started out as a bass player as well. The singing it was like a pyro. The singing chose me. I started out as a bass player, and since I had the easiest part in the band I played in back then the other bandmates forced me to do singing as well. So that's how I went into singing. But I've always considered myself more of a studio guy, and also I am a sound tech producer. Work a lot with that. when I'm at home. So always consider myself more of a studio guy, and some of my older bands, they were only studio bands as well. But then through the years we sort of evolved into a live guy as well, and now I played, I don't know, actually in the backstage we sort of counted, and I said maybe like 1,500 gigs or something. So I think that also makes me kind of a live guy.
Yeah, kind of forced into live. Like, okay.
Yeah.
What about you, Timo? Then again, I don't know really the answer. With these guys, I would kind of make the wild guess, but with you, I'm having big question mark.
Yeah, of course I like both studio and live, but I think myself more like making music kind of guy.
That's what I mean in the studio guy. In the sense.
Like making new riffs and making those pieces fall into their places when going to the studio, and that's the most rewarding for me to make those tracks.
What is the best part of completing an album? Is there a certain point where you feel like this is the truly the reward?
Of course, it's really nice when you have done your part, but of course when everything is ready and you're starting to mix and you get the first mixes and then the mastering, and when you hear everything and blah blah blah. So that's the best part.
Now, with our previous talk, you mentioned that you are the music guy. It's all about the riffs and all about the melodies, and everything else is more like you're handing it basically to like, you take care of this one. Do you think this is true with And Oceans and your role as the band captain, I guess?
Yeah, I don't know. But
fair deal. Here's the hat. Wear it.
Yeah, but of course the music is the main thing.
But do you like have a part like, hey, I want to make sure that there is this kind of line, or are you checking out the lyrics that there is nothing unfitting or whatever?
No. I have always like trusted the guys, and of course I'm interested what they are all about. But I know that Matthias is doing the great job, and so no worries there. So.
Which makes us go back to you, talking about And Ocean's lyrics since the comeback.
Yeah.
2 albums in, 3rd in the making. How would we summarize the lyrics of nowadays And Oceans to someone who is like, I'm hearing about this band for the first time. What the fuck are you guys all about since you're not about Satan and Forest Trolls?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Well, I think all the 3 albums, I'm talking about 3 albums now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
The upcoming one as well. The first one was kind of, how to say, like, it's very like a personal view of life and death and beyond. But the second one was actually kind of weird, because I usually had to be in a like really dark and really like bad place to write something that I'm happy with. So that album, actually, we wrote it during, COVID times, and I was home. I didn't have to travel. I slept well. I was, out in the forest with my dogs and, stuff like that. So I felt really well and everything. So I really had to write something, I had to force myself to write to get something, and at some point, so it's not that personal, actually. That one is more of like I'm going through different kinds of like worldviews and just putting them side by side and comparing stuff on that album. The new one again is super personal one. You can really see when I wrote it during the last year, like how to say, like it's almost like a diary in some kind of sense, because it's you can really feel like, okay, here I had a good day, here I had a bad day, sort of, it's not about my life, but you can feel it, in the themes, and it's really, really light stuff, and then there's really dark stuff, and then there's also this, the gray zones in between, and that's the whole concept, that everything is not black and white. It also has nuances in both ways.
Obviously, every musician vocalist, guitar player, bass player, drummer. Everybody has their own favorite parts. Like this is something I want to put in every set list, or this is something I don't want to put in the set list. Do you have certain favorites, which is like, hey, please, can we guys include this because I want to sing it so badly because these lyrics are even more important to you? Are there examples of those?
Actually, one of the songs that actually is in the set list right now is one of my favorite, and that's from the AM God album, White Synthetic Noise. And that one is really sort of also a personal favorite, but that's also because I remember when the guys, when they were in the studio and they came back from the, from Abbey Studios in Sweden, and they're like, oh, do you want to listen to the mastered version? And it was like half a year before it came out, and I was like, whoa. And actually it was Timo's fiancée put on, I'm gonna put on my favorite song from the album, and she played that song, and I remember it was, yeah.
So it made kind of like emotional click.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, this is really different from the two, albums before, and I was like, whoa, this is cool stuff. And yeah, so that song is really like personal favorite to me.
What about you, Pyry? Because of you being the youngest of the guys and the latest to join and all that stuff, do you have a certain kind of bonds, for the lack of a better word, in the band? Like, these are the kind of tunes I most definitely want to play more than some of the others? Or are there songs you would rather not play so much but kind of have to?
I wouldn't say there's any songs that I wouldn't not want to play, because as said, I've been listening to the band during the high school time and all the first 4 albums, and I do enjoy all of them. And to be honest, actually, I really enjoy playing the one song from the Cypher that we do now, because it's so completely different from the very early days, and what we're actually doing nowadays also. It's so different, industrial vibe songs, so I really enjoy playing that. But of course, as said, playing songs, for example, Troll Fun and from Symmetry album, like Aquarium's Children, it's super great to be part of those songs nowadays, because they've been playing very big role.
Kind of nostalgic even.
Yeah, very much. And as said, rehearsing for this 25th anniversary Symmetry gigs, I had my own personal walking down the memory lane moments back home, and of course in the rehearsal place. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy playing all those first 4 albums, any songs from those.
Let's turn this into a weird twist. What about you? You ever get bored, like, oh man, we played this song so many times, like, please stop wanting it anymore? Do you have any of those moments? Not have to name anything, but just like more like a mindset thing.
Not really, but maybe Troll Fun, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one, but maybe not like the whole song is not so, I don't know.
You have the Enter Sandman moment. Oh, we're there too many times. Now, talking about the industrial phase, one thing that you kind of reminded me of is that with Cypher, and then things were kind of gone for Oceans, but then you had other projects as a Havoc unit, you even had the O project and whatever, and like, do you ever feel that we should go back to those days and create successors to those bands or projects or whatever, or was it just that?
Actually, we were writing quite a few songs for O project with Pete when he
Wolf.
Yeah, Wolf. when he lived in Tampere.
Yeah.
But then he moved to Helsinki, because I was business traveling to Tampere, and I always went to his place, and we made some new songs. And we actually asked drummers for the project, but then all of a sudden we stopped that. But of course, people have been asking for Havoc Unit album number 2. And,
me too, please. Can you do it?
And actually, we tried to like get a decent live setup for the band, and actually I practiced quite a lot with Sami for the tracks to play live, but it never happened. So would have been nice to play those songs live, but
then life happened.
Yeah, life happened. Yeah.
Now, what about Festerday? Once again, last time we met, we also talked about Festerday, and then there was this debut album, and not much has really been happening with the Festerday camp, but obviously shadowed by Oceans. what's the process of Festerday like compared to these, well, Oceans and other projects?
It's slow. Yeah, but because of course I have my personal life and blah blah blah, so it's really time consuming to make new tracks for Oceans and also Festerday, and so now I have been focusing on Oceans. So after this studio period, maybe we are finalizing the tracks for the Festerday and start recording those for the next album. But yeah, that's like a. It's really important because I really like to play those Alaster riffs. So it's like it's totally different from Ocean.
Yeah,
so.
Yeah, it's kind of like almost like a different country in a way. Like it's not even the same ballpark. What about you, having two roles?
Exactly. No, I was just like about to say, I think like Festerday is more of like a rehearsal room band than Oceans. And, usually when we go rehearse with Oceans, there's a lot of like technical stuff, like click tracks for the drummer to play with, lots of the keyboards to set up everything. With Festerday, it's more like, hey, let's go have a beer and go to the rehearsal room and play. And also the demos I've heard of the songs, I played a couple of them myself, and they are more like recorded on the phone, in the corner of the rehearsal room, when Oceans is like really like multi-tracked pre-production. Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like having a fancy cocktail and Oceans, and then you're like, okay, let's have this warm beer. Oh, it's quite like
exactly.
It gets you drunk, but doesn't really make the fancy movements happen right there.
Yeah. Both are important.
Yeah, both are important, and some might even say equally important. Now, talking of your favorite genres, I mean, outside of playing Oceans, what makes you tick? What makes you inspire? Like, man, I need to play these riffs. Like, what are you listening to apart from the similar bands or similar styles or whatever?
Nowadays, quite a lot. We went to check Journey this year with Pyry.
Oh man, would it be great to see that?
That is
talking about my age.
Yeah,
Journey.
yeah, but that
Old soul.
yeah, AOR is like a new thing. It's not a new thing, but
Definitely.
But
but
something that you probably didn't feel like listening to when you were like 22.
Yeah, most likely not.
This is old man syndrome, because I've been a couple of years ago. This is a stupid story. We have chickens and we have a rooster, and a rooster had fucking problem. I had to take the vet, 2 hours drive, and I'm driving back 2 hours in the 1 o'clock in the fucking evening, and I'm like, no, it's not like the time drive back from Helsinki to Turku and listen to your Burzums or Dark Thrones or fucking Slayers. What we did with the rooster, 2 hours of journey. So yeah, old man syndrome. Just go with the AOR and all that stuff. What about you? What kind of bands you need to listen to inspire yourself? Whether it's about the lyric or going on stage or just get you into the right mindset?
I have really no idea. Well, right now I actually listen to a lot of. It's mostly like ambient music right now, because I'm touring all the time. So you listen to 3 band sound checks, then 3 gigs every night. So metal is the one that I least.
You kind of need to flush it out.
Yeah, exactly. It's like metal is like my job right now.
Yeah.
And also we have this, I work with kids playing metal, so not even when I get home from tours, I listen to a lot of like really, really simple mood music kind of way. But actually, talking about the AOR, the last vinyl I put on home was Beatles, Revolver. I like that album. So yeah.
This is exactly the kind of music you wouldn't have been talking about back in the 90s when everybody was like, oh, let's talk about the latest black metal release. It's coming from Norway.
That was Transylvania Hunger.
Yeah. Exactly. Now, once again, going to your age, Pyry, this is a topic that never is like a...
I'm so used to it.
No. Joking aside, but is there a difference when you talk with, say, you're touring and you're talking about your favorite musics and like pitching each other with some musical ideas? Do you see a difference, like a generational gap, like what kind of music, what kind of albums, what kind of bands people are talking about, or is it just like all blurry?
I would say it's all just blurry, because I don't think there's any, at least people that I'm involved with, I don't think there's any like difference between the when it comes to person's age.
Yeah.
So I don't see any difference with that. Yeah.
Now, obviously, you all been touring quite a bit, not only with Oceans, but other bands as well, and you've seen a lot of different places, a lot of different bands, and lots of different people. Let's start with you. Any certain places or memories which really like, oh, this is something I'm gonna take to my grave. This was such a fantastic thing. Like, some kind of a story that you wanna tell to everybody you meet because it was so fucking great.
Tough one in a way, because there's been a lot of those moments.
Just pick one or two.
Super lucky to play actually with some of my all-time favorite bands, and if I have to pick one, I would definitely say like I got to play with Swallow the Sun in Latin America, and that was, I mean, first of all, Swallow the Sun is hands down one of the most important bands for me, and I've been the fan since the debut album, and when I got to play those songs that are like super important to me personally, and the whole band is super important nowadays, of course, because we're good friends and stuff, but I've always wanted to play in Latin America, because seeing those Iron Maiden Rock in Rio gigs and stuff, it's I felt that the audience it's different from European way, and it definitely was. I mean, for example, playing the song called Cathedral Walls, which is like super like calm and beautiful and emotional, and people were like shouting in the audience as in the football game, you know, this ole ole, and then you're trying to be in the doom metal mood, and you're like, it was fantastic, of course.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one of the great memories that I will carry on till the end of my days. But yeah,
that's a good one, really.
Yeah.
Now you have to top that. So no, just kidding. I mean, certain favorite moments, like this was the moment that when I met my hero, this and that, or played with this and that band, or anything like that.
Yeah, well, one of I really like something I will remember is, because that's not everybody that gets to do this, is actually to go and play black metal in Africa. So that was actually
not your everyday thing.
Not your everyday gig, no. And that was really cool. You know, there were small shows. We played in Cape Town and Johannesburg. It's some years ago, but they were insane. Those gigs, you know, they were like the first. You know, during the line check, there was already mosh pits. You know, it was like
kind of insane.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Were there lots of capes?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I wish. No, but yeah, no, that was actually really cool shows. You know, it was maybe 150 tickets sold per show, and but it was insane.
What about you? In terms of like Oceans, the best thing happened so far in terms of outside making the albums, of course.
I don't know if I have any interesting stuff about this, but I really enjoyed when we were on tour last year, and we saw quite a few of those old fans who have been listening from the beginning, and even been on our gigs during those first two tours. So that has been really nice to see those old fans, and yeah.
Now, one thing I'm gonna always bother you with the most annoying questions. One thing that I most certainly have changed, and this is something that we also kind of tackled with the previous interview, but things have changed even further, is like the climate in music. Not only in the political sense, but also about the cancellations or threats and all that stuff. And now you've been touring and you've been seeing different places. Have you gotten ever into the eye of the storm, or have you kind of dodged the bullet with all these things when people are going with the investigator mode, like are there any kind of details, weird symbols, weird word of choices, or were there some live, hand formations or gestures or anything like that?
Yeah, there are some comments we have seen, but I try to ignore all of those, because we are not any band like this.
Yeah, I know you. I know you are not, and obviously, I guess most people watching it is. But one of the most, I think, kind of a weirdest, most absurd comments was someone coming from Canada saying something really ridiculous, like all black metal bands from Finland, they're like kind of a fascist, or I'm like, what? Excuse me, like hold my coffee mug, kind of a thing. I mean, there are these weird kind of assumptions. Since because you have this band and that band, let's lump it all together and all that shit. Have people ever tried to kind of target you with any kind of bullshit nonsense, apart from social media random crazy people?
Not really, no.
You've been lucky bastards.
Yeah.
We're gonna jinx it. Oh no, just kidding.
But of course, it's kind of frustrating that you have to really think about even what bands you are playing with or stuff like that. So
you kind of a stains like, okay, now you get the disease. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you ever get to like go again going about this subject a little bit, like when you go booking a show, like, okay, that would be nice, like if we go to that place and then we go that and there we have a day off, or maybe we should play there, and then somebody's like, oh nope, don't go there because it has a sketchy reputation or something, or is it just some bookers who take care of all that for you?
Yeah, they are handling everything, so we don't really have to think about those things, but
Now, talking about PR, because we're once again here doing an interview, how much taxing or rewarding, on the other hand, it is for you to play the role of let's talk about the band, let's talk about the music, and keep answering all these questions again for different bands. Is it a fun or a burden, or both?
When you have a new album out, you have the sort of gotten the master out there, maybe some magazines have already listened to it a couple of times. Then in the beginning, I think it's really rewarding to have those and to be able to talk about the new album. But when you come to, for example, not this actually, because I sort of feel that lately interviews are not that important for the promotion. Everybody's talking about how you are social media presence nowadays. It's and the thing you're doing is more of like podcasts as well. But back in the day, when we released an album with Control 11 years ago, I was in Germany for a week doing interviews.
That's kind of a hard job, really.
Because it was cheaper for them to fly me to Germany and have me staying in a hotel than me calling, from Finland. So and they would pay my phone bill. So then I did, I don't know how many, but every day, 15, 20 interviews.
That's
day.
Crazy.
Exactly. And then, I was like, I had no idea at some point, did I already talk about this in this interview, or was that 5 interviews ago, or
I can imagine it, it's getting very blurry.
Yeah, exactly. And so in the long run, same questions get a little bit tedious.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I think with the whole podcast kind of idea of doing interviews now, you get a little bit different questions. I enjoy that, when you're a little bit stray from the normal.
Yeah, there are some really good podcasts that really go off the road, that don't do the rather traditional you get 2 pages on this magazine and you're gonna be asked about the new album and blah blah blah, the same kind of stuff, and then you read as a fan also, you're like, what the fuck, I just read 3 of these similar interviews, the questions are always the same.
Yeah. And that's more interesting because those podcasts and stuff are more like conversation rather than just asking how was the process of writing a new album? Yeah. What are the lyrics about? Blah blah blah.
That's why I avoid those questions, because they're so horrible to even ask. Wake me up when you're done with the answer. But talking about the being also the social media bosses for your bands, I mean, it can be quite time consuming when you have lots of comments, and you mentioned you have to try to ignore the idiot comments, but you also want to be the friendly guy from the band replying to the audience, and if you're not doing it right away, okay, this band is so full of themselves, they're not answering my personal question about this is that. How much time and mental energy you can really put it into that stuff before it's okay, too much, I need a drink?
I mean, I guess you could use unlimited time doing the social media, but in a way, I at least try to think about it as not as a burden. You just have to go with the flow and do it, because it's nowadays PR.
Yeah.
It's you just have to do it and just be live photos there and post it on the Instagram and right there that we're gonna have these gigs coming and blah blah blah. And then we have an artwork for the album. Just publish that and I'll do. Just don't think about it too much. That's my life.
Do you share the workload with the kind of social media interaction and all that stuff, or how does it go?
I'd say 50% is Pyry, and the rest of us share the the other 50%.
Yeah. So it's a young man. You take the ball.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think it's coming quite natural for each of us that what we're doing in the band. That is just something that I said, I just don't think about it too much. I just do it, so it's rather easy for me. And then Timo's composing a lot of writing the riffs and songs, and Antti is also writing the songs nowadays, the keyboard player, and you're writing lyrics, and it's like everybody has their role.
Yeah, that's smart.
Yeah. And we never like decided that you're doing this and you're doing that. It's just coming out quite naturally. So
is And Oceans fully democratic band, or do you have certain, like, I don't know, the kind of ranks like captain, lieutenant, whatever? But seriously, how do you operate? Under a certain boss or democratic ways?
Of course, it's democratic.
Yeah, it's
all the way. Everyone has their own saying about everything. So
if Peter wants some weird ass bass solo,
of course, sometimes somebody has to make the decision. But democratic.
Yep.
Sure.
Yeah, and I say personally, the one very great thing about playing in And Oceans is that artistically and pretty much in all the areas you have free hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Because everybody trusts everybody's like the way of doing. And as I said, I've been composing some like bass leads there, which I wouldn't probably do with other bands maybe, but with And Oceans it fits there and everybody agrees, so
everybody wins.
great. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Now been doing this, I don't know, probably 40 minutes and so on, and I guess it's time for us to move on. Let's play a little bit of foretelling. This is the most annoying question, or most rewarding, I don't know. What happens in, say, next couple of years with And Oceans Camp when you take a look at the crystal ball?
Couple of years.
A year or two. Let's assume you were past the next album thing anyway, because people will be hopefully watching this later on too.
As said, new album is coming out. Not saying when, but it's coming out, and I would see us playing probably a bit more abroad from Finland, because that's like we did the tour a year ago, and it was very, very good run for us, and I would love to play outside Europe also with the band. We had talks with going to Mexico and all this stuff, so
sorry about this.
and he's answering to the phone in the next couple of years, and but yeah, I would say touring and playing as much as we can. That is at least I think it's everybody's like agenda at the moment.
Yep.
Now you get to do the successor question for that. One place or couple of places you have never ever played, but you would most love to play the most. I mean, like whatever place, whatever country, new place or old place, doesn't matter.
We were actually again talking about this in the backstage show just an hour ago, and we were asked to play in Antarctica once, but it didn't come true. So let's make that happen, you know.
That would be fucking awesome.
They actually was a gig request from Queen Elizabeth. Yeah, and not the Queen, the city.
I figured that, man. Like, hey, hello, brother. How are you doing, man?
Exactly. No, but yeah. Well, I would love to play a little bit more in, let's say, Asia. There's a lot of countries over there that I haven't been playing in. So yeah, that would be awesome.
Which would take back to you. And now, since we covered the foretelling and the places where you want to be, but what kind of bands you would love to tour the most? Or are there certain bands that this is my dream come true if we and Journey could play together? I mean, joking aside, what would be the dream come true for, like, okay, when this is done, I can rest on my laurels after And Oceans and everybody's happy?
I would really like to play with Limbonekat, maybe.
Wow.
That would be really something.
Why so? Why that one in particular?
I think that's one of my most important band from the 90s, and also Gehenna, of course, but maybe one of those two.
That would be actually very, very fitting.
I have to add, if and when those guys are gonna play live.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, Thorns, why not? They're making new music after all, so let's keep our thumbs up for that. Any words of wisdom you want to share to the audience? Like, if you want to be like me, don't do this.
No, not really.
For you, this is actually the most annoying question. Word to the wise guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Practice more.
That is always the default. Actually, you can go. What about you, sir?
Say what to do or not to do.
Yeah.
You choose.
I would say do everything that you feel like doing.
Even heroin.
Well,
Jesus?
If you feel like it.
Heroin and Jesus, okay.
If you feel like it.
Do both if you feel like that. Okay, goofy time over, guys. Listen to these guys older, listen to the guys newer material, weigh in and wait for the hopefully 2025 release. We are gonna be stoked for that, whatever they have hidden treasures there with the surprises and all. So do your homework, get to check out the music and witness these guys live. It's gonna be interesting, always, for sure, and always good quality. Thank you so much, guys, for this talk. Thank you, Timo. Thank you, Matthias. And thank you, Pyry. Now, this is Rauta, and off we go to see some And Oceans on stage in a couple of hours, so stay tuned. Bye bye. Joo, kyllähän tässä olisi juttua riittänyt tuntikausiksi. Kiitos. Hei, ennen kuin karkaat...